Hello, Oracles. Oracle Tim here from Oracle Investments. Well, yesterday I presented my bear case scenario for the next 10 years, and many of you had amazing questions. Kind of brought some thoughts to my own mind as to what I wanted to do for my base case. And over the course of the day, I thought about things and I said, you know what? In my base case, I want to go with what Elon has said. Elon has said himself that he's very literal. You don't need to read between the lines, you just need to read the lines. So I said, you know what, with my base case, I'm going to take all of the information that Elon has given us for what his projections are for the company over the next 10 years and use those as my baseline numbers. So when he says that we're looking at 50% growth year over year for production and deliveries, and then looking at 20 million cars produced annually in 2030, I used those numbers. And when he said we're looking to grow gross margins and vehicle gross margins to 40%, I grew those numbers to 40%. So I literally used in my base case all of the numbers that Elon has given us for what his projections are for the company. There's a lot of things I needed to do myself outside of that in regards to robo-taxis, energy, insurance, things like that. So I put in, the numbers that I feel would be correct for those, and then a take rate for FSD at where we're currently at this year, which is 12%. And I just used that across the board as my base. And in doing this, it came down to the numbers were still higher than my bear case, but it made my bear case look a little more bullish. So I did really prefer the mentality that I used for this base case over what I used for my bear case. So what I'm going to do is once Q4 numbers come out, I will update all of my valuation models, bear, base, and bull cases to be able to get them to you guys with that new mentality in mind. I will come up with my bull case tomorrow using a similar strategy, obviously just with increased percentages and revenue. And also a quick correction to yesterday's bear case. My mind was thinking, what do I think the stock price is going to be for Q4 earnings, which is $14.58. That is not what the end of next week is going to look like. Bear case scenario for next week would be $980. So now I'm going to get into my base case with correct time frames and numbers. And so base case scenario for the end of next week will be $1,088. So I kind of see us trading a little bit up from where we are right now. And we know that Elon has one more sale left to go, which will most likely happen next week. So that'll be taken out of the way. We'll be done finishing around 1088. And in 2022, we obviously have a lot going on, roadmap coming up, which will give us a lot more clarity as to what we can see in the future. We've got Giga Berlin and Giga Austin ramping. We have the $25,000 vehicle most likely going to be announced with an official date, Cybertruck getting released, semi-truck coming out, so much going on in 2022. So my projections for 2022, I used my production numbers that I feel that we're going to have for my base case, which is 1.85 million vehicles produced. Off of that, we are going to have a 27% margin, and that's because we have the two factories ramping and other cost things with supply chain issues that are still going to be there. So margins will come down a little bit to 27%, but it's not going to be too crazy because we are all expecting this, and it's going to be completely normal. So at the end of the year, the price target for 2022 is $19.69. 2023, we're going to see a lot of different changes. If the $25,000 vehicle is coming out that year, it's going to depend on where it's going to be produced. We're guessing Shanghai, somewhere in China it will be coming out. So that's going to bring the whole entire average cost of the vehicles down, which is fine because they're going to be producing about 2.2 million vehicles that year. And margins are going to come roaring back very much like they did this year once Shanghai hit ramp and we got past all those initial ramp costs. So margins in 2023 will be about 32%, and price at the end of the year is going to be $28.54 for my price target. 2024, production bumps up another 50%, and I have FSD broken out into its own category because at this point, it's going to be, I'm used the $200 a month numbers right now for the subscription, broke that out with a 12% take rate on that. So that's how I put FSD in for numbers for revenue in that. And insurance was a harder one to go by. So what I did for insurance was I did just a 2% take rate with an average of like $100 a month for insurance, because the way Tesla does it is so much different than other insurance companies. So it's not easy to gauge what the actual insurance revenue will be. But I figured that was a good ballpark because that put us in 2024 at about $7 billion in revenue for insurance. And to me, that made sense based on where we are right now. And I've got margins gradually increasing to 33% in 2024 for a total price target of $32.07. And now in 2025, I have a lot of the same numbers, 50% production growth. I've got margins at 34%. Energy at this point is going to be $4.5 billion. I've got energy growing at about 18% annually every year. This is something that we'll find more information about over the next couple of years, so that will definitely change my valuation model on that. But for right now, I put it at an 18% growth annually. And there have been many discussions about the margins on energy being same or better than the margins on vehicles. So that's what I did. I matched it up with those margins, and I played it that way. So I have the margins for energy around 30 to 35% as it grows over the next 5 years past 2025. And so my price target for 2025 is $37.30. 2026, I see the continued growth, but now we're going to start getting robotaxi revenue, and I'm starting off at $10 billion. I'm well aware that it could be significantly more than that, but this is something that's not even on the radar. So I wanted to keep it pretty conservative just to see what was going to happen, because we've got FSD dollars in there, and then the robotaxis. I left it pretty conservative. I know I've seen some extremely high estimates for what it could possibly bring in. I certainly hope we get there, but I kept mine low. So $10 billion is what I've got for the first year of robotaxi revenue. I also have margins that year of 36%, because with robotaxis coming out, we're going to have FSD really taking off, because I think more people are going to take up the FSD, which will also boost margins as well. So for 2026, price target is $41.56. 2027, we take a big leap. I think 2027, either it's going to be coming out or they're going to be discussing a sub $20,000 vehicle. That's going to bring a lot of news to everyone. They're going to be producing about 10 million vehicles that year. We are looking at robotaxi revenue doubling to about 20 billion. And I've got FSD licensing coming out as well. This is where a lot of the companies who weren't able to create their own FSD now understand with robotaxis that they need to be in that field. So Tesla is going to lease their licensing out to all these other companies. I've got it at a small $1 billion to start, but I think that's what's going to start end up happening in 2027. I've also got them at 37% vehicle margins that year, because there's so much profitability that they're going to be getting out of FSD. They're going to be getting it out of any gaming and stuff that they have going on within the car, because if you think about it, it's basically like a smartphone. So all of that extra revenue coming in is almost pure profit. So at the end of 2027, I've got a price target of $59.05. 2028, just continued growth. We have energy reaching about $7.5 billion in revenue. Again, I kept that one at the 18% growth, and that's where it was at. We have 38% margins coming in 2028. Price target for the end of 2028 is $75.49. At this point, I've got it down to a PE of 50, because we're going to be hitting what a lot of people are thinking, maybe nearing the top of that S-curve. Personally, I think if they don't get the AI bot off the ground, that could be true. If the AI bot comes around like we think, we could be starting another S-curve at that point. But that's too far down the road, so I didn't want to play that factor into my base case. 2029, we're producing 16 million vehicles, delivering pretty much all of them, so demand is still high. They are having very little inventory built up. We're going to have everything else growing, 39% margins on vehicles in 2029, and we are going to have a price target of $92.41. And so in 2030, based on the numbers that Elon has projected for Tesla, we have 20 million vehicles being produced. We have margins at 40%, which is what he has discussed what their goal is. We've got the FSD take rate at 12% still. We have energy just over $10 billion in revenue. We will have AI bots becoming something that they are beginning to produce and sell, and they're going to have $2 billion in revenue from just the Tesla bot. And with the PE ratio around 50 at that point, we are looking at $11,550 for a price target. And now for 2031 and 2032, I slowed production down quite a bit. Elon has never said that they're looking to produce more than 20 million vehicles per year. I still bumped them up over that because they're a company. That's what they're going to try and do, is produce more. So I did bump them up, but not anywhere near what I had been increasing them over the years before that. So I've got 2031, they're at 22.5 million vehicles getting produced. Kept the margins the same at 40%. Again, this is something that may go up, may not, but I kept it steady at that point. AI bot revenue bumps up to $3 billion that year, and for a total price target of $12,669. And for 2032, I have them producing 25 million vehicles. Again, I don't know if Elon's really going to push past the 20 million, but I mean, why not? If you're going to sell them and you've got the demand, you're obviously going to do it. Long way down the road, but I've got them at 25 million. Again, kept the margins at 40%. I've got their energy business at $14.5 billion for solar at that point. That may very well be significantly higher than that, depending on how things go. And I've got AI bots at $4 billion. Total price target, and I know my previous price target for my base case for 2032 was around $25,000. But because I took into account what I wanted to do with Elon and saying, hey, you know what? Elon says he's very literal. I'm going to literally take the numbers that he used, and I just kind of put some of mine on there with realistic numbers with AI bots and FSD. So my total price target for my base case came significantly lower, but I think it's a much more realistic ballpark of what the price target could be for 2032. So my 2032 price target is $13,656. Now, to be honest with you, I think a 12x between now and then is still an amazing, amazing growth, and I would be extremely happy if that is what happens. Let me know in the comments below any questions you guys may have, because I really appreciate the questions you threw at me about my bear case, because that opened up my mind to a lot of different things that I wanted to put into here, which I'm very happy with my base case because of what you guys had questioned on a lot of the different things. Helped me look a little bit deeper into, again, the Elon, what is realistically he thinking, and let's go by those numbers. So I appreciate what you guys did for me there. So again, throw your questions and comments at me about my base case. Let me know if there's anything you think I'm missing or anything that you want me to go over further about what I had in my valuation model. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for being here. I really, truly appreciate your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below, and I will see you guys all later. Have a great one.